Good morning, Franco.
Good morning. How are you?
I'm good. Did you had a good sleep?
Yes, I did. It was very delicious.
Uh-huh. So nice to see you in person today.
Oh, likewise. Likewise. How's your day been? Good?
The day was good. I just came back from my hometown. So just, trying to move on with life now.
I understand. I understand. I hope that I know I'll be able to provide you answers today. That will make,
Looks like this energy was meant for me.
yes, it is actually. It's funny you say that because when I do these kind of interviews, I always tell the person that I do the interviews as much for them as I do for the people that are listening. So this one is dedicated to you, okay?
Thank you, Franco. And I really appreciate you taking out time for us and, being there for our participants.
Oh, I love it. This is going to be great. I have to tell you, I have been looking forward to this interview. I really
Uh-huh.
have.
Uh-huh.
It's partly because of my excitement of going to India, but there's just something about the energy that I was
Uh-huh.
like, I'm like really ready to do this interview. So
Sounds
yeah,
good.
yeah. So I'm
Yeah.
excited. I'm
Yeah.
excited.
So Manoj was, yeah, yeah.
I was just gonna say I was a little bit confused with the time zones. That was very tricky because
I think so.
I've never seen time zones where they go by the half hour or at least
Oh,
does that is that like throughout India there are half hour time
yeah,
zones? Because yeah.
yeah. I mean, in the sense that, sometimes we'll say 15 minutes or half an hour, 30 minutes. So, uh,
Wow.
I'm not
Because
sure
right
what's
now
the time at your place right
it's
now.
it's eight
If I
o'clock in the
calculate
it's eight
8
o'clock right
o'clock.
now.
Ah,
And what time
it's
is it
really
there?
early for you. Did you have your tea, coffee, or something? Do you take that?
Um, um, no, no, not really. I'm actually fasting right now.
Oh,
But even if I wasn't fasting, um, I have this nutrition green drink that I drink. So that's my usual drink in the morning, but I do love tea. I love tea a lot. It's very
yeah.
delicious.
Yeah, I'm
So,
sure when you have your India trip, you're going to be offered tea wherever you go. So be ready for that.
all right, all right. As I would say here,
Okay.
let's go. Let's go. Oh, I'm ready to do that. I'm ready to drink a lot of tea. I
Yeah, that
really, really would love to meet you in person too. So I will try to
yeah, I
make.
think you'll be landing in Bombay or Delhi. I'm not sure about your itinerary, so we can discuss about it later. And
All right.
surely Manoj Ji is also based in Bombay. Most of the team is based in Bombay. He's already there. Manoj Ji,
Yes, Franco,
that's
how are you?
Franco. Franco, that's Manoj. He's the
Hey,
person who has been
Manoji.
guiding us
Yes.
and who has created this platform to connect people, like-minded people across the world. So over to you, Manoj.
Hey, Manoji.
Yes, how are you?
I'm doing actually very well. Thank you for asking. How about
Yes.
you?
Yeah, I'm super. I've seen a few videos of yours and it is just mind-boggling, beautiful. You know?
Oh,
Yeah.
hey, thank you. That means a lot. I
Yeah.
really, really sincerely thank you for that.
Because
I've
I just wanted to tell you that the audience today, there will be three types, okay, of audience. One is those who will believe what you say. That's beautiful. Those Some will not believe, but no one will disbelieve. That much I can guarantee.
yeah, all right. That's good.
So, no one will disbelieve. So they are already ready for what you have to say, share everything. I just wanted to this synergy. I mean, this pre-synergy is there only for that I will keep on, let us have the answers very short ones so that
Okay.
we can cover lots and lots of questions on all what you have only said. I will just give you the prompting of this thing. It will be like a question answer, but I have heard a lot of what you have to say. So I'll just prompt you starting from your birth of 6 months, and then teenage age of 16 years, and then how you evolved, and then that accident which you said no. All those. I will just prompt you, so you can just go, because that initial part is very fascinating, but will not take much time there. More time I would take on, the practice and the book which you have written, and the gratitude, the self-love, the forgiveness, and all these things which we already told them, but coming from you, Franco, it will just put the stamp that they will start practicing all whatever we would like them to practice. And of course, you
Sounds
can,
good to me.
yeah.
Sounds good to me.
So,
I'll follow you anywhere. Okay.
so you
Mm.
are based in US, where exactly?
In in Minnesota, Twin Cities, Minneapolis. Have you ever been here?
I have been I have been to New York, New Jersey, and around that current Canada. All those are the places I know much, and Boston. That much I have been. Where is it
You
close
know,
by?
no, it's actually this is actually in the middle of the country.
Ah,
So not very many people come to Minneapolis.
we
It's
plan
a
to
beauty.
come. We plan to
It's a,
come next year, so definitely probably make a visit there.
all right. Okay, I'm gonna hold you to that. I'm
Yeah,
gonna
yeah, yeah,
hold you to
yeah.
that.
No, once we connect, then all our family is your family, and that's the meaning of this whole thing. That we just building the family of people who uh, enjoy the inward journey and enjoy discovering themselves. Who am I? So one of those questions I'll ask is, who am I? And like whatever you have said, I've just picked out some points, and I just loved what you said. Very, very interesting, and I'm sure everyone will get a lot from today's synergy that way. So just to
I,
give a little brief, of course, Sarika has given you. Once by the end of it, you have the family of thousands of people who will welcome you. That much I assure you, to their place, to their house. Some of them are right here also. They welcome you with their videos on the, like that.
well, that's neat. I already feel like I'm part of the family. Look at
Yeah,
this. Look at all the faces.
yeah, yeah. We are always I mean, every house is your house. That's the gift we have got from our master, and we just pass it on to everyone. That we have lots of ashrams here, hundreds of acres. When is your next visit here?
Well,
Anytime.
my next visit is going to be my first visit.
Wow,
Um, it's going to be it's going right now. I'm planning on being there in August.
August. Oh, and which
And
place in India you're planning to come?
where am I going?
Yeah.
Well, um, I haven't quite figured that out completely yet. So this it may help me to figure out some of that. I know that the reason I'm going is because I have to um, visit a place that I have been wanting and have been feeling called to go for some time, and
Mhm.
that's in the mountains, in the Himalaya mountains,
Well,
to visit my teacher, my master, if you will, Babaji. So
Baba.
I don't know exactly where I'm going to go after that or how long I'm going to stay there, but I'm planning on going there. That's my primary reason. And then I know I need to go to Kashmir as well.
Okay.
So those are the two places. Other than that, I have no idea as of right now.
So by the end of today, I will put a question to all of them, that how many of you would like to invite Franco to your place? And I'll tell them to write the name, I mean, which city. Then you can choose your itinerary by the end of today.
All right, that's great. Let's do it. I love
And
it.
Mumbai is one place where we all are from, all of us right now, many of us rather. And near Mumbai, 3 hours from Mumbai, on the top of hills, we have our Gurukul or ashram, where it's a full nature place. So there you can welcome. So you can
Wow.
generally the plane comes. Bombay is a very big place, so if you land here, first few days you can be here. and then move to the, even in Kashmir, we have someone, even in the Himalayas, we can arrange something. So everything is done.
That's
Okay. Now you have to choose yours because there'll be a big variety by the end of today.
that is that is that is beautiful. I was saying that before you came on,
Yeah.
I was saying that I was feeling this very different energy. I'm very excited about this interview. I've been looking for it for a while, and I believe it has a lot to do with me being there in August, and so
Yeah.
I'm looking forward to seeing how this all turns out and the family that I will have after this.
In fact, when I saw the videos, I found a deep connect, and I said, "This is not." I told Sarika that, "Wow," because she's the one who coordinated. I said, "Wow, this is." It is just the divine forces bringing all of us together, and it's part of that this amazing journey inwards and amazing life which we all lead. So this divine play making us meet here on this platform is just one of those beautiful which you have experienced so many in your journey. Is one more of the journey.
Yep. Yeah, this is my new part of my journey quest. This is like I said, this is something that I've known for so long that I was going to go to India, and so the timing of this podcast is very perfect. It just seems like it was meant to be right now. So, and there's so much going on in the universe, in the world. Oof, a lot of stuff.
Fact, I'm very
Exciting
keen
time.
to hear those, two, three, you said 2009 to 12, something happened, and then 19 to 22, and then what's going to happen, those things which you have been able. So a lot of questions, and I'm full of questions, and I've already told them or rather prepared them that be ready. So introduce yourself, Swati. She's handling all the back office, internet, everything of us.
Hi,
Hello,
Swati.
Franco.
How are you?
All
Pleasure.
good. All good. You're most welcome to Mumbai. Our houses are always available for you. Please be
I that's
there.
that that's just that's great. I'm
Yeah,
so
and we can
touched.
arrange wherever we have houses, we will surely arrange for your stay. No worries with that.
I may never go back to the States. I may just stay there forever.
Yeah, that's
Always
my worry
welcome.
too.
Always welcome.
Thank you.
India is just beautiful.
I'm so looking forward to it. I really am. I feel like I'll be going home in many ways. So, and having so many friends and family already, that would be really cool. That'd be really, really, really touching. Thank you.
Have you invited your group, Franco?
Yes,
Any?
I
Good.
I I put it out there, and I just told people that I would be doing this. I was very excited about it because I am. I'm very excited about this interview. So
Yes.
we'll see.
I,
We'll
I I
see.
think I think I beat your excitement.
No,
Well,
Manojji, we
yes.
have to consider that it's 8 a.m. For Franco.
Yeah, yeah.
To be too early for him.
No.
Well, a little bit, but not too bad, actually. I was a little worried that it would be like sooner, like 6 o'clock or something. That would have been, then I
That's
would have
that's one
definitely,
challenge. Yeah, that's one challenge we sometimes face when we are having international guests, especially with the US time zones. They're bank opposite to us.
yes, exactly, exactly. But no, this is good. This has worked out
This is
really
still,
well.
yeah. We had one for Dr. Bruce Lipton, and you won't believe it was midnight, and we had over 300, 350 people logged in and listening to Dr. Bruce Lipton midnight. It was
Yeah,
like
that's
crazy.
well, I'm sure with him especially, he's so well known, and
Yeah,
he's such a source of knowledge and wisdom. It was probably a very fascinating conversation.
yeah, it was. It was.
Well,
Yeah.
I promise it will be fascinating and fun. Okay,
Yes.
You
I'm
don't
a
have to
very
promise because we know that.
okay.
I know
All
that,
right,
Franco.
And
all right.
a little personal question. When did you get the insight of meeting Mahavatar Babaji? I mean, just personally.
Oh, um, so I speak to I channel a collective of beings that are referred to as Caleb.
Mhm.
And when I was, my goodness, this was probably back in 2012.
Mhm.
I was having a conversation with Caleb,
Mhm.
and he told me that, or they told me that I would be finding a teacher. And I was like, okay. I didn't really have a teacher or anything. I was just kind of trying to do my own thing because that's what we were doing. That's it back then. And and so I met a woman randomly. She was a very spiritual woman, and I met her one day. I was walking, and I was told to go into this house, and I met this woman, and she was very, very spiritual, very psychic, and she began to tell me my whole life story. And then she said, "You have somebody very, very powerful around you." And I said, "Oh, who's that?" Because I was like, I knew I felt something. And then she said, "It's like a beautiful woman. She's got long dark hair, and she's very, very thin." And I said, "Does this woman have a name?" And she said, "Babaji, Babaji." And I
Uh-huh.
said, "Who's Babaji?" I'm like going, I'm not
Uh,
sure who Babaji is.
uh,
But shortly thereafter, um, Babaji came to me 3 times, and I spent a whole day each time with Babaji, and I was taught many of the things that I now teach my students.
oh,
Um, and so I have been with Babaji many times now in spirit for the past 10 years now. And it's now, like I said, it's time for me to go there and visit. So that's how I came to find out about Babaji, because I had no idea who Babaji was. And
wow.
the other one that is with me a lot
Mhm.
is supposedly, I mean, not supposedly, I feel, and I've talked to, but is Paramahansa Yogananda.
Uh-huh.
So those two are with me.
Wow.
Um, and I did not know who they were when I first was told, but now I do. So,
Hans Yoganand, we are having, he's written this book, Autobiography of a Yogi. And we are having I speak on that book at least once in a year. So in fact, next week I'm speaking on that book itself. So
wow.
it- yeah, so his
So
mystical journeys and so many stories in that book is there with the Tiger Swami and all that. You have read that book, Autobiography of
I did after I found out who were my teachers and my masters. I read the book,
Mm,
and it was really, really fascinating because there were some similarities in the way that when I met Babaji came to me um, as as sort of another person, another woman, and at least she looked like a woman, but it wasn't like almost it was what's the word that I wanted to use? It was like asexual. There's a word for that. But anyway, um, I didn't really know that it
mm,
was Babaji until and I had to ask. I said, "Who are you?" And
uh,
then and then it was Babaji, and I've been waiting for Babaji to come. After I was told about Babaji, I was like waiting and waiting and waiting, and so I kind of could relate to that part where Yogananda was praying for him to show up, and so when I finally met him, it was really interesting because it was very beautiful, but I felt like it was as if I felt like I was with family. I didn't feel overwhelmed or anything. It was a very beautiful, playful relationship that I've had with Babaji since then. Almost like as if well, like I said, as if he were a family member to me.
yes.
So, so yeah, it's been a very interesting experience. I don't really have as much of a connection with Yogananda,
Mhm.
but I know that his presence is there. So, but it's mostly with Babaji that I feel the connection with.
Beautiful, beautiful.
Welcome, Franco. I'm so super excited to have you today. On behalf of the entire Rishi Samskriti Vidya Kendra, that is RSVK, all the people, all the participants, we extend a very warm welcome to you. Thank you for accepting our request and sharing your wisdom, knowledge, and time with us. So, I have this opportunity to read your formal introduction, and then we can move with the flow of the synergy. So Franco Romero is based in Minneapolis, Minnesota, US. He's a top 10 best-selling author, clairvoyant, spiritual coach, and speaker. His first book is titled The Closest Spiritualist, which was inspired by a near-death experience which left him clairvoyant. Abilities he was unwilling to recognize until an awakening in 2010, where he was reintroduced to a collective consciousness known as Caleb, a voice which has been guiding him since he was a young boy. Franco is currently writing his second book titled The Modern Day Alchemist, which looks at our future from the perspective of God consciousness, a science of the mind that is only now being revealed to humanity for the purpose of creating heaven on earth in the coming decade. Franco holds two master's degree and is co-founder of My Nourish, a formulator of powerful superfood and plant-based nutrition for the body, mind, and soul. So there's a lot that can be said about Franco, but in a nutshell, that was him. And over to you, Manoj, to take this energy ahead. And once again, a warm welcome.
Thank you.
Definitely. Yes. Welcome, Franco. We welcome Franco Romero, okay, to this beautiful synergy. I'm sure all of you are going to be, I use the word freaked out, okay? So I've been connected with you today in personal, but the last few days I've been listening to your videos and seeing it with writing so many questions. And I just told Franco today that many of you will believe absolutely what he says. Many of you may not believe what you will say, but I'm sure all of you will not disbelieve. So, some things may go bouncers, but just take it, absorb the energy, absorb the spirit behind he's saying. And I can just tell you, I am in total resonance with what you have shared in your book and in your videos. I am in total alignment with you and your frequency. So, something beautiful will happen today. And by the end of it, like I always tell, uh, I promise Franco he has a huge family, and all of you can welcome him in his next or first visit to India, which is very soon, which he'll share, of course. But just to tell everyone that we have been talking about so many things. At the end, you'll have the last 15 minutes to ask him your personal questions. So till then, you write down your questions. You'll be given his website. You'll be given his books. Where you can read his books from the channels where he is sold also. So all this is there. It's just a big family and extending it to the Midwest today. So once again, Franco, welcome you. Thank you so much for accepting, and thank you, Sarika, for organizing this beautiful synergy. I'm sure all of us are going to go much more deeper than what we have so far. So what is the depth? Well, let's hear it from him. I'll start with the first question, Franco, is that yes, he was at 6 months of age. He had his first NDE experience, that is near-death experience. Let's take it from there, and then I'll keep on prompting you with various questions as per your journey. And then questions, lots of questions. Let's hear. But okay, so.
Oh, okay. Well, thank you again. Thank you for having me. It's been it's an honor, and I'm also very excited to be here. I've been counting down the days to this interview because I feel like it's going to be, for me, an introduction to something very big that is going to be happening in my life going forward, which, as I was telling you before we got on, my trip to India this summer is going to be like going back home. And I didn't realize that I have such a big family already. So this is great. Hi everybody. Hi family. It's good to see everybody. Um, so no, honestly, this is just like to me, uh, very, very perfect in terms of the timing of all this for me. So I'm looking forward to sharing what I can with everybody today. So with that said, I already forgot your first question. What was your first question?
Yeah, the first question was, I mean, that's your starting of your journey from
Ah,
6 months when you had the ND experience.
okay. So the way that I usually discuss my NDE is that there's sort of two time periods that are happening during this experience. The time period of my NDE, which, as you said, was 6 months. I'll go into that. But I'm also going to be explaining it from the perspective that I was experiencing this almost 15 years later when I was a teenager, 15 years old, and having these dreams and these visions of a death that I had that I didn't even know about. So so when I was 6 months old, I was living in South America, Bogota, Colombia, and that's where my family is originally from. And I was very sick. It just kind of happened all of a sudden. I had pneumonia, bronchitis, and it wasn't diagnosed as that at first. It was just simply that I was having a hard time breathing. And so my mother took me to a nearby hospital, and they told her that they wanted to keep me there overnight just to be sure that this wasn't going to progress beyond that. I mean, they didn't even, like I said, they weren't even quite sure if I had bronchial pneumonia, but they wanted to just observe me for the night. It wasn't very long after that, few hours, that my condition began to get worse. And within about 3 or 4 hours from being admitted, my situation was so bad that my body, my internal organs were starting to shut down, and the doctors felt that I wouldn't make it through the night. In fact, they felt like I wasn't even going to make it beyond a couple more hours. So at that point, they told the family, my mom specifically, because my father was already here in the United States, that they wanted to prepare her for my death. And so typically here, what they do is they will ask if the family would like to have a minister, a chaplain, a hospital chaplain to come and pray over me and give what's called the last rites. So at that point, my mother completely in her mind, what we would call here checked out. She just was like, she didn't even from that moment on, she wasn't even really at the hospital in her mind. All to her, it was like just a dream after that. For me, I experienced this experience in dreams and visions that I was having again when I was 15. So I was able to be in the hospital. I was in the room. I
So
was near my mother.
I'll just interrupt Franco. I'll just add in that story that for everyone's sake, that when he was 6 months old, I mean 6 months, and everyone had given up on his health. In fact, they had decided that this is the last couple of hours, and his mother went. That's what I wanted to add. His mother went to the church, and
Yep.
just that was a very important part because that's why I interrupted you. She went to the church, and normally, a person who's a mother who is in that state, I would like you to just write on the chat box. What would you be in your, what would you go through a feeling? Which feeling, which will you go through if if your child of 6 months is just going to die? Everyone has said it's the last rites. And what would you feel? So most of you will be Yes, devastated and feeling helpless and all that. Typically, every mother will go through this, but see this speciality of Franco's mummy is she went and she was in total gratitude. And that's
Yes.
where I wanted to tell that she was in total gratitude of what was happening at that time. And when she finished the gratitude, just complete that part, you can say, when she came
Yeah.
back.
Yes. When she left the hospital to go to the church, and she crawled on her knees to the church, and I was with her in spirit, and everything in the church felt different. The energy was different because she wasn't praying for my life. She wasn't praying to save me. She
Absolutely.
was she was praying in gratitude, and the gratitude was what really surprised me, because she was thanking she was thanking God's spirit, for the 6 months that she had experienced me. And so it the room, the church felt brighter, it felt lighter. It was such a beautiful experience that when I was dreaming and having visions of this, I teared up. It was very emotional, because when she was in gratitude, there was a moment where she had the opportunity to see who I would become. She started to receive visions of my life, when I would be much older. And she saw the kind of father I was going to be, the kind of son I was going to be. But here's the thing, she was seeing these things, but she didn't believe necessarily that she would get to see them physically. She was in gratitude that she was being able to see a life that she would never see. As a
Beautiful.
mother, she felt she was going to never see this, and so she started to cry, because she realized that this was a picture, a glimpse of a future that would never happen, and so she was in such gratitude for that. And when she started to cry, the air, the energy in the church completely changed. It was beautiful. It was peaceful. It was sort of like caring. And so she got up from where she was in the altar, and she went out the church, and she went back to the hospital. And when she got to the hospital, she had been gone for a little while, about a couple hours, and they told her that. So there were a lot of people at the front. This was a very small hospital, and so there were a lot of people waiting to meet her. There were doctors and nurses and family members, and they were crying. And they told her, that she thought she was coming back, and she thought she was going to hear the news that I had passed away, which was amazing. That, to me, as I was standing there, I was still very surprised that she had left. For those last couple of hours, she decided to go and pray in gratitude, and she came back, and they told her that I had made a miraculous recovery. That within a couple of hours, all of my vitals, all of my organs, everything, my body came back to normal. And they didn't understand how this was possible. But as with most physicians, they just kind of decided it was a miracle, a medical miracle. And the next day, I was going back home. I was fine. But I never knew about this until 15
Yeah.
years later.
So that's what I wanted to tell everyone that see, this happened when he was 6 months old. And then when he was 15, 16 years, he started to see exactly 16 years back what happened. And not only see, feel what his mother went through and experience what his mother went through. And then the interesting part is he himself doesn't know what's happening. So he goes and confronts his mother that, listen, I'm getting all these dreams. What about these dreams? And his mother had to reconfirm all this. Yes, it's true. This is exactly what I went through, you went through, and what I felt. And that is where the next journey started. Yes, you can continue after that.
Well, yes, up until that point, I should mention that my life had been filled with some very interesting experiences. Um, and so having these dreams of this experience of having died in the hospital, and experiencing it from the emotional perspective of my mother, it felt strange, but also normal at the same time, because I had already experienced some very interesting things in my life at that point. But when I told her exactly what had happened, I remember it as if it were yesterday, because she was in the kitchen and I was in the kitchen, and I explained everything in detail, everything that she did in the hospital, every conversation she had with the doctors, everything that happened in the church, the way she prayed in gratitude, and her mouth just opened up and she couldn't say a word. And she finally said something and she says, "How did you know this? I've never told anybody anything about this. Nobody." I mean, there are certain things that, yes, a few people knew, but not the kind of conversations that she had in prayer, in the hospital, and in the church. And she said to me, "You have to share this with everybody." And I said, no. I'm not going to share this with everybody, because you have to remember this was some time ago, and these kind of things, at least here, people didn't talk about these things, because if they did, they usually got put in a hospital. So I kept this a secret for a very long time. And there was also in my dreams and visions, there was a second part to this as well, which was what actually happened to me when I did actually cross over and go into the light. Do you want me to tell you that story? I'm not sure if you want me to tell you that story yet.
No, no. So it was beautiful. I just wanted to ask you that once you got these experiences, did you experience it again? That means,
I experienced both my death and the visions of what happened when I crossed over into the light. I probably experienced that about at least 15, 20 times.
wow,
And then they went away.
yeah. But
And they
so
went and
when you experience this death or whatever, how would you experience? How would you explain that?
How did I explain the experience? It was usually in either my dreams, or when I would wake up very early in the morning. I would just sit and lay in my bed, and all of a sudden I would just kind of just have this disconnection, and I would find myself either back in the hospital, or I was back in the part where I crossed over into the light. It was almost always at that point during the time. It was rarely during the day. It was just when I was in my dream state.
Yeah. So in your dreams, when you crossed over, what did you see, feel, experience? Anything you would like to share in that? I mean, because
Wow, that's the
like, I have experienced near that experience, I think 3 times in my life, and I yet don't know how I'm alive that way. All one at an age of 5, one at the age of some 30 plus, and one further around 40 plus, like a car accident, one falling from the mountain, and one near falling near the river. So every experience which I had, it shook me, and at the same time gave me one insight that no, there is some higher purpose for me, and I need to do. That my life is of something higher purpose. So did anything like that happen with you or something?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Typically what had happened, and it's interesting because each time that it happened, it never felt different. I never felt like when it was finished, I never felt like, "Oh, okay, let's go. Let's go. It's the rest of the day." It always felt so real. It was so like powerful that each time when it would end, I was always laying in my bed sweating like sweating a lot,
Mhm.
and I felt like I was being thrown back into my body, and usually I was always full, like needing to have that first gasp, like I would go like that, and it was always followed by crying, a lot of crying, okay? Because it was so beautiful, so powerful. It was so real that I knew at that time in my life, even though I was only, 15, 16 years old, that something greater was happening in my life that I needed to explore, and it would change my world, and it did. So the experience itself was is that I saw myself leaving my body. I felt myself leaving the body of this little child. And I was in the hospital room for maybe a few minutes while people were sort of grieving. And then I left the room, and before I knew it, it went dark for like a few seconds. And then for me, this thing just opened up. It was like this vision opened up, and I was I was in the desert, which I know now why I was in the desert, but back then I could not understand. I was like, why am I here? And so I was floating above the desert, and I was in front of all these people. There were many, many people, and I was focused on one gentleman in particular who was putting his hand out, like reaching out to like touch me. But I realized at that point that he wasn't looking at me. He was looking through me, and he was looking at something behind me. So I turned around and I looked, and I saw this beautiful, beautiful, bright sun. And the thing that I remember telling myself was, how is this possible? How, first of all, why am I in the desert? Why am I floating in the air? And how is it that I can see this beautiful light and not be hurt by it? Like my eyes were not hurt at all. It was warm, and I felt like I was drawn to it. So when I looked back down, I was drawn to this little boy, and he was doing the same thing. And the interesting thing was is that I didn't feel like it was during this time. I felt like this was something that was happening in a different time period. And so I looked back at what he was looking at, and by this time the light had totally started to engulf me. And when I went into the light, I felt immediately like this beautiful, beautiful draw that my whole body was like becoming very integrated with the light. It was warm, and it started to make my cells in my body vibrate at a very fast rate.
So
So I, yeah,
ask another question, Franco, that this you had you had this you went back when you were 6 months old and you could see all this,
yes,
that's thing, and then you went when you were 6 months old, you went out of the body and then saw all this happening and then entered the body again, because it reminds me of, if you have heard about Anita Murjani. She also had this, she went into the coma for 36 hours. She went into the other world and chose back to come back to the body. And as soon as she came back, she was healed of the fourth stage cancer in few instantly. I mean, the healing happened instantly, very similar to what you are saying. Like you, doctors had declared you
yeah,
dead, and then you come back alive instantly because you go to the other, and then you realize that you are far more than the body, you are more than the body, and that disease was, I mean, in the body, and you are not the body. That's what she,
exactly.
and is it the similar thing?
Very similar. Very, very, very similar. Now, in her situation, obviously she was aware enough, she was old enough to and experiencing the cancer. In mine, I had no idea what was going on. It was just happening, so because that's what happened instantaneously. My whole body changed. It was all my organs were starting to shut down, and they all just kind of came back instantaneously.
And
So
take
so from
this
that
forward,
perspective, yes.
take this forward because you have so many stories. So I would like to cover as many stories as
Sure,
possible uh,
sure.
in this couple of hours. So, taking this forward, that later on in your life, you had one more very, very unique experience, which I would like you to share with everyone, is the airport experience when you
Mm.
shouted no. And that was a big state. By the way, how young are you? That I didn't know.
Oh,
But
at the airport,
no,
I
no, no.
was, what's
You're,
that?
you're born when? When are you born? What's your age now?
Oh, what's my age now? You're going to ask me my age now? Oh, that's cool. I've been keeping that a secret from everybody. No, just kidding. I'm 58 years old now.
Oh, so we are almost same. So no, I'm just trying to recollect because then it goes back 30 years, so that way people
No,
can get
that's okay. I'm just kidding. I was just joking around. So
good. that is so after the age of 18, 20, then you had one unique experience in the airport when everything started vibrating and everything stalled, and that accident, that was a turning point of your life.
Yes,
Okay,
it was.
and through that experience, because after this two, three, then I will ask you more other dimensional questions. So,
Sure, sure, sure.
yeah,
I know, and there's so much that I can share. There's so many different stories about very unique things that don't typically happen in one's normal life. But this one was the big one that changed everything for me. And it's funny because there are so many stories like my near death that you would think would be the one that would change me, but this one happened much later. I was already married and I was visiting a city here in the United States, Phoenix, and I brought my family with, and I went to go get the rental car to pick up my family. My children at the time were very young. One was like 2, 3 months old, so she was in the car seat, and the other one, my older son, was 2 years old,
so
and
you
so
around 30 you were?
I was yeah, early to mid 30s at the time. And
Wow.
up until that time, I was trying to live like I say in my book, I was trying to live a normal life. I was just trying to forget about the experiences that I had had already in my life, which were many, and just be a father and raise a family and all that. So um, when I went to pick up my family, I didn't park my car near the exit, and that was a mistake I made because you can do that, but I just didn't know the airport very well. So I saw my wife and my two children. They were coming out of the doors and they were looking for me. My wife was, and my 2-year-old Logan, he um, he saw me because I had waved and I yelled out to get their attention. He didn't pay attention. He was 2 years old and he let go of her hand and he started to run towards me. But to get to me, he had to get past 4 lanes of traffic,
My God.
and these cars were about to hit him at a pretty fast speed. And I knew that if I didn't do something at that moment, he was going to die. So at that moment, I just did something that later on I understood what happened, and I'll explain it really quickly. I went into the silence of myself, but at the time I had no idea what I was doing. I just went in, and I just for a moment felt the stillness, and all of a sudden I yelled out like any parent would. I said,
No.
"No!" And when I did that, everything in the airport stopped. I mean, everything, the noise, the wind, the traffic, the people, everything stopped. And it was as if everything had been put on a movie screen. Everything went from three-dimensional to two-dimensional. And then it went, and so I looked out. I remember looking out at the vista. I saw the airplanes, they had all stopped. And I'm looking around, and all of a sudden, I was in the back seat of the front car that was about to hit my son, and I was yelling, no. And the driver in the car slammed on the brakes and hit herself on the wheel, and the passenger next to her hit his head on the panel, and then all of a sudden I was back in my body, and everything went from 3D, 2D back to 3D, and everything slowly came back online. And as that was happening, my son ran across the road and everything was fine. Nobody said anything to us. Nobody said, "Is he okay? Are you all right?" Nothing. It was as if this had never happened. And it was so incredibly powerful. I realized at that point that I was experiencing what was behind the illusion. I was behind the illusion of this life. But I didn't know this at the time. I was just really, really confused for the next year or so, understanding what had happened. But much later in life, I realized that I was behind what I would call into what the field was, the energy field, the matrix, the
Wow.
core of this whole simulation of reality.
Yeah. And let me, what happened to those lady who slammed the brake and those two people in that car? Were they okay, or they just moved on, or what?
They just moved on. They didn't even to them, we didn't exist. It was like nothing had happened. Like they didn't even see him. Like they didn't see me, nothing. It was very, very surreal. It was like as if nothing had happened, but yet everything had happened.
And
Everything stopped.
can you explain the one dimension, two dimension, three dimension? Because we'll at some point I will ask you to speak about the fourth and fifth also. So what is, I mean, what is the first dimension, second, third, just for everyone's knowledge?
Well, you know what? That's a really great question because I haven't really spent a lot of time with the first and second dimensions as much as I do with the third, fourth, fifth, sixth, seventh, eighth, ninth, 10th, 11th, 12th dimensions. Um, and no, that's, because it's really in the third dimension where this reality is created. And so it's where consciousness really, really becomes very active and playfully experiencing itself, in a very spatial way. So I don't really have to, that's a great question. I really don't know very much about the first and second dimension. I know that in second dimension, we don't really have the introduction of space yet. And space is where we have the introduction of consciousness. And so it's in the three-dimensional space that these kind of earth schools, or schools as I call them, are created. This is where the playground of reality, of a spiritual reality begins. So if you have a clear definition of first and second dimension, I would love to hear it, because to me everything has been mostly from third, fourth, and beyond. That's where the excitement really begins.
So the third dimension is where you and me, we are all seeing this world around and seeing this so-called reality. That's what we experience is, oh, it's real like this. And
hmm
you use a lot of time the word STE. What do you mean by NDE? I understand he experienced NDE means near-death experience, which Anita Murjani, we often share that example with you. What is STE?
It's a term that not everybody really knows yet, but it's one that I believe a lot of people are going to know very soon, because we're in a time, as you know, where we all over the world are waking up, and what I call this is really a time of remembering, a remembering of who we are as spiritual deity. And so an STE is an experience that somebody will have that can be, it can be as simple as well, I shouldn't say simple, but as being in a car accident where you're very shaken. You can have a somewhat traumatic experience in some way, in physical, but you don't die. You don't have the physical experience of actually having, like, leaving your body and going into the other side and coming back into your body. It's more I'll give you a really good example of an STE. A lot of people have STEs when they recently have lost a loved one. And that experience is so profound to them that it causes them to have these very intimate, personal conversations with themselves about what is this whole thing about? Why are they here? Who are they? Why do they feel drawn to ask big questions about their spiritual identity? It's usually very emotional, powerful experiences that cause you to start going inward to ask some very, very powerful questions as well. So those are usually STEs. Those are always STEs. And for
What's the
every
full
person,
term of STE? Full term.
pardon me,
Like NDE is near death experience. STE stands for.
spiritually transformative experiences.
Uh-huh.
So again, it's a very big umbrella. For every person that has a near-death experience, there will be at least 100 people that will have STEs. And and because of the way the energy is now, because of the where we're at in the evolution of consciousness, people are going to get a lot more STEs now. And again, simply because I see this a lot. Usually it happens when there is a death of somebody very close to them. So I always tell people that the biggest gift that someone can give you is when they give their life to them, because when in death it helps them to have this STE that allows them to start really feeling their awakening. And that is the biggest gift that somebody can give somebody is that.
So what I would say is there are, I mean, like what you shared now, when someone very close to you expires and again you are so much connected, so much attached, and it's like a shock. And when you get a shock, then suddenly you ask the question, then what was the purpose? What was the use? I mean, what was it? What did all happen when it all happened? So many of them, I know Mira has experienced that, at least a closeness, and you lose someone very, very close, and then you question life itself.
Yes.
One.
Yes.
Second is I also got it through the NDE, not through STE. That when you almost die and you said, "How did I get saved?" Like I remember falling from the cliff and I said, "It's gone. I'm gone." And when I say I'm gone, I'm yet there. I said, I yet till today I don't know. One of our friends here, Kulin, he also we were there together. So both of us experienced. Then I questioned myself that there is something more. There's something
Yes.
more in life. There is something I'm here for. I don't know. I don't know. And then that quest starts. So I think that's happened. So according to you, what's this when we say this reality? What do you call this reality?
Oh my goodness. The way that it's been shown to me is that this reality, and there's many different names for it, but I specifically been told it's a game.
Beautiful.
Um, it's a game, and but some might view it as a hologram, as a simulation, as a play of life, a dream. There's a lot of dreaming in this game, but it's a game. Some people call it a school, um, but it's a game inside a school.
Beautiful.
And there's a real specific reason why it's been shown to me as a game, because I've also been shown that the essence of this incredible, beautiful light, we'll call it, however you describe it, is a very childlike essence.
Right.
And so this is something that I've been teaching people for some time now, that our interpretation of whatever this spiritual light is, it has a very strong child piece to it. And if you understand that, you will understand much better who you are, and you will understand why this was all created like a game. And so I teach a lot of my students to understand who they are in this light, why the game is the game, and more importantly, which nobody ever asks. This is one of the questions that nobody ever asks, not right away. Okay. And I'm almost tempted to ask you, but I won't ask you because you're the one asking me the questions. Okay. Okay. So, but the
No.
question that nobody ever asks
Uh-huh.
is, how do you play the game?
Right.
How do you play the game? I mean, when you're playing a new game, you have to know the sort of the general rules to the game. But
That was
no,
that was my question, not now, but after that little break, I would say, now how do we play the game? That was my question that way. So
really, well,
yeah, yeah.
going for you. That's great because you're the first one who asked me that question the first
So
time.
I also from our master Guruji Sri Rishi Prabhakarji. So he says there is one Hindi doha which, and he explains this, that यह श्रुति वेद कहता गुरु बिना ज्ञान कैसा ज्ञान बिना मुक्ति कैसी. No, not this verse. The last verse is uh, खेल ये मैदान में, खेल ये मैदान में. That means the play of life. And even our scriptures say this whole thing is nothing but a leela, as Krishna says. Leela. Leela means it's just a great, like an orchestra where all of us are actors and we are playing
Yes.
roles, and we play the game and everything, even this, which at some point I will come to law of attraction and all those things, questions later on to you. But this is all just a game of, I mean, I see everything personally as magic. The birds
Yes.
flying, the clouds, the mountain, the sun coming, the rivers, and the sea. And when I just sit and see the or hear the birds, it's all magic to me. Even this technology, you and me seeing each other, is like phenomenal magic. People say,
Yes.
no, no, there's a science, it's technology, and this they have discovered. No, no, no. You, this whole thing is a magic. If you have that magical eyes, then everything. And then how do you create and just enjoy the magic? I mean, nothing serious about it. This coming in the body and going out of the body. If we become serious, then that's where the pain, suffering, hurt comes. When we just played a game, my simple formula is laugh it out or smile it out or joke it out. One of the three you have choice. Smile, joke, or laugh.
I love it. I love it. And you said so much in there. I was like, okay, I could almost break down that whole 2 minutes into like 10 different conversations.
Yeah.
The thing that stood out to me was Leela. I was told that this was before. I was telling you before that much of this was very new to me, this sort of way of understanding reality. But I was told that this was a one big game of playing with Leela, a game of Leela. And
Absolutely.
so I had to look up what that meant because I didn't know what it meant. And it was like, oh my gosh, yes, this is exactly what it is. We're playing a game of Leela. And so, um, and you talked about magic. Um, oh my goodness. So what the way that I teach this course called The Way of the Inner Child.
Yeah.
And it's at the end of the course. So when I was first writing the course, like what the description of the course was going to be, I
Mm.
started talking about how I would help students to go into the stillness, to remember who they are, and to reclaim the magic of what they do. And when I was writing it, I remember saying to Caleb, this seems like really, really big. Like I'm supposed to be showing people how to create magic, real magic, like this kind of magic. And they were like, yes. And I said, okay. So now I realize that with my students, and I've had several hundred now that have gone through my course, all of them do actually find their magic, the magic, the one that allows us to play with the energy. And to your point, we play with things like the law of attraction, but we come at it from a very different way because we come at it from a very playful way that
No,
allows it to become easier.
attraction will take it in the second half because
Mhm.
that's where the game plays, and people always miss that, law of vibration, law of resonance, and law of that.
Yes, the law of resonance, exactly.
That part will
Yes.
take after the pause when we take. So, in continuation with what you just shared, I just remembered that verse actually. It says, छल कपट त्याग दीजिए, गुरु जी की सेवा कीजिए, सतगुरु की शरण लीजिए, खेल ये मैदान में. This last line, खेल ये मैदान में, means this whole, as you beautifully explain, and I love that expression of yours, is this earth school, you know.
Yes.
So Earth School. So this is Khel Ye Maidan Mein, means this whole game, this whole universe, everything is a play
It
created
is.
by whoever, created by this beautiful energy. We are just actors, come here doing our roles, and we can choose to suffer or we can choose to be playful. And that's where your inner child comes in. So my next question was, when you say inner child and you speak a lot about it, a little expansion on that, if you can elaborate on that.
Yes. So up until not too long ago, I would have explained that the inner child more conceptually, like I explained it as an energy of innocence, an energy of imagination and wonderment. But about 4 months ago, I had a very um, divine experience, I'll just call it,
Mm.
where I actually felt the integration of this energy, where I now see the inner child as this powerful, powerful. sort of deity-like energy that allows. I see like many hands that swerve around, and it actually knows how to innocently touch people in a way that removes all of the negative energy from them. Like I will use kind of two different languages. Spiritually speaking, it's sort of the darker, heavier energies from a more sciencey kind of perspective. I look at it as programming, the programming of our lives, and this deity, this energy of sort of godliness. It actually is something that we all have. It's like a state of consciousness that allows you to actually feel the power of this child being able to easily remove things and play with things and play with energy so that it can continue to grow and be joyful and play. So it's a very powerful, powerful, powerful state of consciousness that helps us to simplify our world and our life in this experience of this illusion so that we can remember ourselves.
A little off question. That
Yeah.
means I can resonate with what you're saying. But if you asked me 5 years back, I would not believe and I would not disbelieve also, of course. I would just say, I don't understand. But today,
Yes.
after meeting so many people, reading so many of these NDE experiences, seeing so many experiences in the Gaia channel, and so many, this, so I am exposed, so I am at ease with this. But when you tell like this, just now what you explained, if you tell someone new, do they call you mad or what do they think? have
You
you got
know,
have you
I,
got
I,
this
I,
feedback? What is it?
you know, it's it just depends on who you're saying the story to, um because depending on who you're telling the story, yes, they do feel like it's time for me to get some medication, and then in other times people are profoundly moved by it. So it just kind of it depends. But I will tell you this, if I may. In 2019, when we had this massive experience with COVID. This
So
experience was
I'll just interrupt because you're gone to 2019. I wanted you to speak about what happened in 2009 to 2012 in your, you said something happened in the universe.
yes.
Then you go to 2019 thereafter. So just explain.
Okay, sure enough. In 2000 and so in 2000, okay, so what was shown to me, because I get a lot of visions now. I get a lot of prophecies. And this is the second part of my book. It talks, especially there's one chapter about the future of humanity. And this part is the piece that gets a lot of people very interested in my teachings and my work, because I talk about some timelines that have actually been very consistent with other teachers, other masters, others who have talked about this. Um, I talk about how in the year 2009 and 2012, in that time period, we had the first of three major consciousness awakenings, or as I would like to call it, not awakenings, but remembrances. We started to remember. And it was during that time that, as you might recall, I know here in the States, there was a lot of anticipation, especially for 2012, because there was a lot of talk about the Mayans and the Mayan calendar and how humanity, the timeline for humanity would end. And so this raised a lot of awareness in people, but it wasn't the only thing, but it was one of the things that helped raise the awareness for people that there was something spiritually happening right now. And so from 2009 to 2012, I'd call this the first awakening, because it was the time period that many people who came here to assist in the greater awakening of humanity, those beings would start to wake up. And
Mhm.
and so I have talked to many people who have said, my goodness, after like around 2009, 2012, and shortly thereafter, there were, this happened to me, this happened to me. And I said, yes, this was supposed to happen, because it was a period where the ones who came here to assist would start to wake up. And so then in 2000, and this is kind of general, but in 2019, and so throughout 2013, 14, 15, 16, 17, all of these people would start, I called it like a popcorn effect, because
Mhm.
the popcorn would start to pop, 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 and pop, and then more would go, like a popcorn. But by 2019, this was the beginning of when some of the people who were here to actually ascend would wake up, but it was the time period where whoever wasn't awake yet, who was supposed to be here to help humanity, would wake up during this time. And the others would start, it would lay the groundwork for the rest of humanity to wake up, because that's when in 2019 I correlate that with what happened at the end of 2019, because I had a vision in the summer of 2019 that this great energy would come in at the end of 2019. I talk about this very little in the book, but I talk about at the end of 2019, somewhere in China, there would be this energy that would come, and it would just cover the entire planet. I
Uh,
looked at it. It was told to me that that energy was the energy of the inner child. But in physicality, it was called COVID, because it was at that time, that because the inner child is powerful, and it moves consciousness in a way that makes people experience consciousness very simple. And what happened? Everything shut down. People had to come back into themselves and start asking. This was one big, big STE for humanity, one big STE. And so this is just an example of what happened in 2019 to 2022. And
So,
by the time 2022 came,
no, but
by the,
this you got this vision in the summer of 2019.
yes,
It
yes.
happened end 2019 year. It touched 2020, and the whole world was shut for so many months.
Yeah, I mean, I wasn't really talking to too many people at that time about my stuff, but in the little bit of conversations I was having with people, I was telling them by January or February of 2020, the world would stop. And sure
And
enough, the
and
world
you had
stopped.
a vision that something from China, the word China.
Yes,
Wow.
yes, yeah.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
I was told that that would be the beginning of the physical appearance of the inner child, the energy of innocence and awareness, and seeing the world simpler. Because for those 2, 3 years, the world had to look at themselves
Yeah,
very simple.
so maybe, I mean, it's the energy which was awakened. And I also felt like as soon as COVID broke out in 2020 here on 24th of March. That was the first day India was closed. And that was the first day on 24th, we had a seminar offline, which could not obviously happen, but I converted it in off online. My first online presentation was on 24th March, the day it happened. And I said, this is the best gift the world has got. This was mine. Then we all got together and we wrote 108 advantages plus points. Till today I have that video. 108 gratitudes towards COVID. And then people were really upset, some of them on me, that how can you be gratitude when it has cost 60 lakh people's lives and so many lakhs people. I said, see, there are two aspects to this. Okay, if I start cursing and I start complaining about COVID, then I'm adding to the issue, whatever is happening. I don't wish to add, I wish to add a solution. And my solution is it's given us time to look within. It's given us so much space of silence. It's given reduce the pollution. It has this, and there is so much time for family bonding, where family were never bonding. They started bonding on Zoom.
Yes,
This
yes,
and
yes.
I see the till today every second when I get a chance, I'll say COVID is the best blessing. COVID, Corona, best blessing, and Zoom is the next best blessing. Zoom.
No, it changed the way that we now, because of that, look at what we're doing here today. We're able to communicate in a way that we don't only just see our faces, but I can feel your energy. And it's a much different experience than it would have been had we not had it. But remember what I said a little bit earlier. I said that the greatest gift that anybody could give to each other is their life in terms of them passing on. So it was a gift, if you will, that so many gave to the rest of us to
Beautiful.
help us remember who we were. So it was perfectly orchestrated, perfectly timed the way it did so that humanity could start a very, very massive beginnings of an awakening.
A beautiful expression, in fact, beautifully. So, before we take a pause, I'll just like to ask, what is a you say you're a clairvoyant.
Yes.
But so just explain that and then we take a pause.
Okay, and I had a feeling you were going to ask me that because I don't get asked that question very often, but I knew you were gonna ask me that. I use that label very broadly.
Mhm.
For me, a clairvoyant is someone who has multiple abilities. And those abilities can be anything from astral projecting to telepathy, to healing, for me, speaking to channels like through channels to other entities. For me specifically, my clairvoyant abilities right now are that I have the ability to channel many, many different types of consciousness. They give me visions and talk to me about all the things that we're talking about here, so that I can help bring the message of truth to the world, so that they can remember. But it involves telepathy, it involves dreaming, visions, it involves a little bit of spirit. I do a fair amount of spiritual healing in terms of taking programs or energy out of people and removing all of this trauma or drama from their consciousness. So those are some of the things that I do. But it's a big umbrella that covers so many things.
And is it too I mean, is it now getting common in the West? Because India,
Very.
we are well versed when you say reincarnation, when you say many lives, when you say earth school, when you say, so we are pretty used to this terminology in our, of course, Indian terminology, but we are used to this from childhood. Yeah, yeah, it's a Leela, it's a play. Although we do get affected also by when the person passes away, but we are at back of the mind, yeah, yeah, everything happens for the good, the universe plays in favor, its universe has a bigger plan, all this is quite common from childhood. What about the West?
This has not been very easy to accept for many in the West,
Yeah,
but it's becoming a very strong movement here in the West now. And I see it. I have people that reach out to me from all over the world, and in other places it's still a little bit more foreign, but in the West it's becoming very, very, very powerful. And within the next few years, it's going to be a very noticeable change in terms of the way we see the world in terms of Leela and all that. I will
that
tell you something that's really interesting
no, no,
is
that
that
I'll ask you at the ending stages. What do you see the next 10 years from now? Because you had shared that, but then let us keep it that for the end of
okay.
this thing. So, because that will really, it's too fascinating to when people hear. So, till then,
Yeah, it really is. It really is. What I tell people, it blows their minds. So,
absolutely. In fact, I sent a message to everyone. It's going to blow your mind today. So let's keep that blow your mind till the end that way.
okay.
Can one more thing you shared, which is very uplifting, that yes, you have these abilities of clairvoyant, seeing, doing all these so-called miracles or magic. It appears like that, but you also say that can everyone have this? That's
Absolutely. Absolutely. This is, kind of what we're going to talk about towards the end, but this is what I described, or what was called to me, shown to me as the age of miracles now.
right.
We are entering this very small period where we will be able to experience our own abilities to do the things that others have done in the past that were considered to be very extraordinary gifts that only a few could do. But what I try to show people is that we are very extraordinary, and it's time for us to remember how to use our own magic. So yes, this is the age of miracles. So this is when it's all going to happen.
And can we just link, how does it happen? Means can we link it that I say you are as, I mean, this is my common statement that you are as happy as you are aware. That means
Yes, 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 yes.
happiness is directly proportionate to the awareness you are. Now, when we say awareness, means awareness to this truth. Truth means we are beyond the body. We are nothing. We are nothing or we are everything. That's my this thing of truth. So, what do you have to say about that?
Well, I'm just like you took the words right out of my mouth, because as I was sitting here waiting to start the second half of our discussion, I kept hearing the collective say, talk about awareness, because awareness is the fourth dimension. We have this impression that the fourth dimension is time, and time is not the fourth dimension. Time is an illusion. It's part of the illusion. And so when I said like in 2019, this inner child energy came in, the inner child was here to help raise awareness, awareness of our truth, of
Yes.
all of our truths. There's no more, there really it does not have to be any more time for us to have to question who we are. We are tremendously powerful beings, and these abilities for us, I tell people those things that I do and that I'm beginning to do more of and others are beginning to do more, these are natural. These are natural to us. And the world that we live in is subnatural. We are saying that these are supernatural. No, no. Well, they are. They're super in the state of them being natural, but they're super great stuff that we do naturally. And so we all have the ability. Now, what's the key? What's the key? Is awareness. It's awareness. When you can be aware and allow yourself to be more introspective and realize and ask and accept the things about yourself in reality, your consciousness starts to rise. And the more your consciousness starts to rise, the magic that we're talking about becomes very natural. It's like little programs start to open up in the body. It's like little computer programs. They start to activate, and we are starting to be able to use them in ways that we were never able to use before. But it starts with awareness. The fourth dimension is awareness, all forms of awareness.
And
And you have, go
when
ahead.
we say awareness, when we say, we always share with people like, awareness is to hear the inner voice. And there's an inner voice which keeps on happening, but most people, we are not aware of it. So we have given them a little tool or little tool to do it. I call it T by T, T by L. T by T means talk your thoughts. T by L means to yourself loudly. That means whatever we are thinking, instead of thinking, speak it out. So when you speak it out, you start getting much more clear because there are about 60 to 80,000 thoughts in a day. So how do you handle this chatter? So when you start speaking it loudly, like that to your own self, whatever you're thinking, don't put your mind, whether it is right, wrong, good, bad, or make sense or nonsense. Just speak it and you get clearer. So you have anything to say on that? And we have one more term, TYTTOL. That means that I'll come to after this in case you have something to say on what I just said.
Yeah, actually, I do. So everything that I teach is very simple, and so I tell people that like you, one of the very first things that I teach them to feel comfortable with is having a conversation with yourself. And so I tell people that one of your homework assignments is to start talking to yourself. I mean, like talk. Like, at first it's going to sound very like one-sided. It's just be blah, 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 blah. But eventually you will feel comfortable going blah, 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 blah,
Right,
blah.
right.
Because when you start to create that conversation with yourself, okay, I call the self the higher self, the greater consciousness. when you start to have a conversation with yourself, even if you don't believe it, you're starting to have a conversation with the higher self of you. And before long, you're going to have conversations that are real conversations. And to me, I tell people that when I started to have the ability to channel this collective consciousness, to talk to, like I was telling you earlier, more directly with Babaji, this happened because I was willing to have that conversation out loud, speak it out, talk it. So you're very spot on. I just tell them to do it very playfully because
Yeah.
people are very embarrassed to talk out loud.
We've been teaching this, it happened to me a few years back. We take this yatra, we call it. 7 days in a year, I go just with two pairs of clothes and move around in India, no money. Just stay wherever you want, eat whatever you are offered with love. That's all. So 7 days, I take this. So one of the times I was going through a lot of turmoil in my life, like my some patterns, college patterns started to come up. So I really had no solution. And this thing, I had all the time, 7 days. So I started talking to myself, like you said, higher self, and talking loudly because there's no one to hear and anywhere, no one to call me mad, anything. So I was free to do that. And I started to document whatever the realization. Then I uh, coined this term because it's like it's easy to remember TYT TYL. So so then when we came back, I told some people, I got this, why don't you try it out? And then we introduced it in our programs and we found super results. And then I discovered one more aspect of this is TYT TYL is basically the basic principle is I, I am responsible for my life and I create whatever I have, the good or the otherwise, both I am creating. That's the base principle. Then I started to do TYTTOL. That means talk your thoughts to others loudly. Like, for example, all of you, or suppose you. So if I want to inculcate something in my life, I just declare it to the whole forum. Talk my thoughts to yourself, to others loudly. So you just declare, like you're going to declare by the end that next 10 years. So when you declare it like this, and you really feel that it is so, it's not just a made up thing, you want to inculcate that in your life, and I start speaking that outside. So then automatically I get that energy and some magic happens, which is that particular habit or whatever I want to say starts happening in my life, provided I am truthful to my own self. I cannot just lie about it or just say like that. Anything on that if you'd like to say? TY.
Yes. Yes, of course. Um, I'm going to again kind of just for my sake just simplify it for people here that what I tell people, the simplest way to start to feel that ownership of your reality is to do what most children do, and that is to play in the world of imagination. I cannot stress enough how powerful imagination is. And when you can feel comfortable playing with imagination in your inner world, you start to create a reality that will eventually, as you speak it out, will eventually become the manifested word of your truth. But I always make it really simple. Just start to imagine. And because imagination allows people to go around all of the restrictions, all of the conditions, all of the beliefs that they've been taught to accept. Imagination just lets you go around that and lets you play in a space where you can feel free to do or be or have anything you desire. Speak it out in your mind, speak it outwardly, and it will become truth. Why? Because the thing that we talked about earlier, this is all a game. This is all a game. And this game has consciousness too. And this game recognizes you as the one that tells it what to do. If you perceive your life as something that cannot be changed the way we've been taught, then the game keeps giving it to you. But if you could step inside into a playful space of imagination, you can create and create in the stillness. I teach them how to stay in the stillness and play. A lot of people necessarily believe that being in the stillness has to be still. It's a playground. You can play in there and create from there, and magic happens in the outer world.
So
So
in
I complete.
extension to what you're saying is, can we say, because we have been taught how to go still at our will, that's a gift our master has given us, that all of us have learned this art of just closing eyes and just going to the other, that gift we have all got. And then I tell them, after you come out or open your eyes, you're going to open your eyes. No, stay there. You're already still. And
Yes, yes, yes.
what we call as creative visualization, or as you said, imagination, and just as a play. Don't expect it to happen. Oh, I did this, this happened. No, no, it's just like a child who's playing a game. You also play a game. We are children of God, as we say. So that God has sent us to play this game. Let us play it and ask for, create, imagine whatever you want, keep on creating, and don't bother when it will happen, whether it will happen, it's going to happen. Just leave it. So create, leave. So I say 49% desire, 51% let go of the desire. Anything
Mhm.
from that angle you would like to share?
Yes, it's funny because we have not talked before, and yet there are so many similarities with the way that express this reality and the way that I've been shown the same thing. When we go, what I tell people is that, especially in the Western world here, okay, a lot of people believe that to go into the stillness means that you have to really train your mind to just turn everything off. And what I tell people is that we are always in the stillness. We're always there, so you don't have to go anywhere. You just have to know what to do with it from a consciousness standpoint. And so when I show students how easy it is to be in the stillness, they almost can't believe it because they're expecting like this very long, very difficult process. And I just tell them, close your eyes. And then within just like boom, within seconds, I go, you're in the stillness. So I'm going to show you now what you can do there. It's a playground. It's where you have the opportunity to create. You say something, you've said something earlier that reminds me all the time of the stillness. I call the stillness the place where everything is before anything ever was. And that's the space where infinite possibilities happen. And before they've been created or manifested in this reality. And I tell them, who is it or what is it that connects those two? And I say consciousness. And I say, what are you? Consciousness. You are the child playing in the stillness. If you see it that way, you can actually start to create your realities before anything ever was. And when they do that, the game starts to change its vibration towards you. It resonates with you, the law of resonance. It will resonate with you and it will start to change your reality quickly. But first of all, I tell them, you have to know who you are. You are not just simply this body. You are not. You are way greater than that. And then you have to understand that every moment that you exist, you're in the stillness, playing with your eyes open or your eyes closed. It doesn't matter. It's just know that you're in the stillness, always meditating, always
Yeah.
playing,
So
and then you can create.
taking your words, which you stopped, I mean, which you mentioned now, that law of resonance. So law of, we call it, like in India, we have this terminology, law of karma. Or in the Western world, they equate it as law of attraction. And many people say law of attraction is what you sow is what you reap, and what do good, you'll get good. Or law of karma, you do good, you'll get good. It's not, I say it's not doing good or getting good. It's about what you are thinking is what will give you the feeling, and what feeling you have is what will start manifesting. So if you are feeling fear and you want a lot of money, it can't happen because the feeling or the alignment is of fear. If you're feeling happy and contented and relaxed and peaceful and just abundant, then that attraction happens because your feeling is like that. So I use this term few months back, I've been using law of vibration or law of resonance. So when I heard you, I said, wow, this is resonating so much, when you use the same terminology. So a little bit on law of attraction, which you can share.
Yeah, so yes, like I said, the synchronicities in our conversation are like really crazy good, like that's how I would describe them, okay? Because again, it's really fun to talk with people who I've never talked to before, and the things that I have been shown are coming through in different ways in the way that you have experienced your life and have been taught how to experience them through your teachers and masters. So, the law of resonance, I talk about this in the book a little bit. I talk about that we don't understand that in order for us to attract anything, a life that we desire, heaven on earth, higher consciousness, magic, all of this, you have to come from a place of consciousness where you are resonating, you are vibrating at a level where you can actually bring that reality into manifestation. If you just think and then even if you try to feel, but if you're not feeling it like with conviction, like as if it has already, like you have already experienced it, because you totally believe and understand how this works, then it won't happen very easily. You will be doing a lot of doing. I call it human doingness instead
Yeah.
of human beingness. So the law of resonance, I tell them, is extraordinarily important. In music, the law of resonance is when you have a tuning fork and a tuning fork and they match vibrationally, but they will only match vibrationally if they are at the same frequency. We have to do a little bit of work and going, and I call it a lot of playing, going inside and raising our vibration to, I tell them just three simple truths. Three simple truths. If you could do these three simple truths, at least in your imagination, play with them, then you will raise your consciousness. The first truth is accept that you are not the body, accept that you are a very powerful, powerful being. However you want to describe that, just know that it is extraordinarily powerful. You have the ability to change reality instantly if you knew what you were doing. And this was something that Babaji showed me. And so that's truth number one, okay?
That's
Accept it. Just accept it. If nothing else, accept it as a rule that you have to have in the game. That's a very powerful rule. Okay. Second acceptance is that you're playing a game in a reality it's a simulation. So you have to so you play with it because it's very, very, very playful and it wants to connect with you. It doesn't want to hurt you. It wants to give you anything you desire. Anything you desire. Okay, but you have to go back to rule number one, accepting that you are an extraordinarily powerful being of light. Okay, and then rule number three is very simple too. All you're here to do, the only thing you're here to do is to remember who you are. Remember that you were never asleep. Remember that you have never been outside of the stillness creating because there is a fourth rule. I call it the wild card. Okay, that you have to know all of these things inside the stillness, that you're always in the stillness, in this space of infinite possibilities. And if you can accept this just for the sake of playing this game, magic will happen very fast. Resonance will happen very fast.
repeat the four rules. Yeah, can you repeat the four
Oh,
rules?
repeat them?
Yeah.
Okay. So rule number one is that you accept that you are a divine light, a very, very powerful supreme being. Okay.
Beautiful.
Rule number two is that you are playing a game that is connected to you, to only you. Okay. And you say, well, how is this possible? 8 billion people and only me? Well, this gets into what we call parallel realities, but we won't maybe get time to talk about that today. But for now, just accept that you are the center of your universe in this game, okay? Playing in this game. And rule number three is that the only reason you are here, the only reason that anybody is here is to help, okay, here's a biggie, help you wake up. Not necessarily everybody else, but you.
So we
Just you.
say we say everyone is our mirrors. Whatever Like if I get bugged on you, then it is not you, it is me, my
Yes.
energy within the bugging energy or irritation energy, or anger energy is showing up because the other one is just a reflection of who I am.
And this is very difficult for people to understand because they're like going, wait a minute, what do you mean all these people, what, they're all reflections of me? Because that alone tells you that this game is connected just to you, only you.
Absolutely.
And the reason for that, again, gets into parallel realities. It's,
Yeah.
I have to stress this. It's really important for people to get this.
Sure.
We have right now created virtual reality games
Mm.
that allow us to put on goggles, put on suits, use control sticks to experience other realities in a digital way. Okay. What I was told many, many years ago was that when humanity would reach a point of creating virtual games or virtual realities inside this big virtual reality, when
Mhm.
that day would come, it would be the beginning of the end of this school because it wasn't about trying to recreate this reality in smaller virtual reality games. It was about playing this reality and understanding that this was the greatest virtual game that you
Sure.
could possibly play. So
Sure.
rule number 2 is that you're in a simulation, a game. Okay. And then the third one was that you are here only to remember that you are here to remember, that you have never been asleep, that you are who you are. You are this divine light, this extraordinarily powerful being. And then the fourth rule is that you are always, always, all the magic, everything that happens in your reality, I call it the command center. This is the center of the game. And we call that game in spiritual terms the still point, the stillness. You
Good.
are there all the time. And if you understand and accept this, you can create magic almost instantly. Very similar to in the autobiography of a yogi, how Babaji was explaining how we can create reality very quickly when we understand who we are. Then we will know how to play in this game.
Absolutely. So, coming down to this, you said the next awakening, which I said will come to the end and all. So, 2019, 22, this COVID came and all those things. Now, you said in the next 10 years, how do you see the world in the next 10 years?
Ooh. Okay, so in 2022, we had an experience of divine energy that came in that was also very powerful fourth dimensional energy. And in the West, I'm not sure what it would be called in the East, but in the West, it's called the divine feminine. Okay, and this energy is very, very, very powerful. It is here to bring balance to this world because there has been too much divine masculine for too long. And so all of us, men and women, are all have an equal amount of divine feminine and masculine. And we have
Absolutely.
not been able to express ourselves. Men in different ways, women as well. There is so much power in the divine feminine. It is bringing peace and harmony and collaboration and cooperation and nurturing. This is the divine feminine, and this is coming in very, 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 very strong. And it will be this way until there is more balance in this world. And this means for over the next 7 to 8 years, if that, it will be this way until we see balance again. So you will see many things changing, but this is where it gets very, very interesting, okay? Because what happens as you get into this aspect of the fourth dimensional consciousness, because this is again fourth dimensional consciousness that is going to start to penetrate our stream, our thoughts, our intuition. We're not going to feel very comfortable with many of us already don't feel very comfortable with the way that this is all playing out in 3D. So now we're going to get a lot more inwardness with the divine feminine. Okay. So
So,
as this happened, go
Franco,
ahead.
if you called it the fourth dimension is awareness, all about awareness, then
Yes.
what's the fifth dimension? What's the sixth? What is the seventh? What's the eighth, nine, 10, as you see it, or as you have seen it has come to you?
So the fifth dimension, and this was what I was about to tell you, was that the fifth dimension is starting to come in just this past month, just this month of March, and March 21st. Nobody really knew about this, but this was shown to me. When we got to March 21st, we reached a very important part of our evolution as humanity consciousness. We hit what was called the event horizon of 5D. And what I mean by the event horizon of 5D is that for the first time in our existence, okay, we are now 51% in the energies of 5D and 4D and 49% in 3D. And this is a monstrous shift in consciousness. You will start to feel this over the next several weeks and months as this will start to play itself out in so many more people asking so many more deeper questions and experiencing so many STEs. Okay, because an event horizon, for most people who don't know, is when you get either pulled in or you are outside of the pull of something. And in this case, 3D. We're no longer in the space of 3D. It is not the dominant energy anymore. It still feels like 3D, but it's not the dominant energy. So 5D, what is 5D? 5D is what I call creation and oneness. So in 5D, we really start to use the magic that we have been given. The magic being our abilities to do so many things. We can telepathically communicate. We can go into people's consciousness with sharing ourselves, experiencing ourselves with one another. We will see things like astral projecting and visions and dreaming, and all these things that were sort of just special things are now going to happen to everybody. The body starts to change. It becomes crystalline. We will no longer have to eat to survive. We can eat just for enjoyment. And I know that you've had guests here. They have already done this, but this will become worldwide. Okay. We will no longer die. We will grow young. We I mean, just so many, we will not experience disease. There is we will not need the institutions that we have right now. None of the financial institutions, none of the healthcare system institution, the education, they will all go away in the next 5 to 6, 7 years. Okay.
That, that is mind boggling. Okay. Because that's what I was telling them, that listen, you will get like no death, no disease, no,
Nothing.
no,
Nothing.
nothing.
And so here's the mind-boggling thing, but here's where it gets really interesting. And this is the way the game plays out. The game will always give you clues, okay? And so one of the biggest clues that humanity has of how quickly this will change is in what's happening with AI, okay? Artificial intelligence, okay? If you even just pay a little bit of attention to that, you don't have to very much, but if you pay a little bit of attention to that, when I've been involved in AI for about 10 years, because in 2011 I had a vision of something that I was supposed to do, but it wasn't called AI at the time. We'll leave that for another time. But what I will tell you is this: we thought, or others thought, that AI would go like this. It would speed up at a certain point, okay? But what happened is that AI went like this, straight up, okay? And I tell people that AI is artificial intelligence in this 3D world. This world was created in 9D, okay, which is why much of the mathematics and science of the advanced intelligence that we know of the universe is a factor of 9 of some way, a derivative of 9 in some way, okay? It was created in the 9th dimension. And in that dimension, we are also AI. The bodies are AI. We are playing in the bodies of AI, but it's not artificial intelligence. It is advanced intelligence. And so I tell people that this clue of artificial intelligence is exactly how we as humanity will grow so exponentially that we will change the world in a matter of years, almost overnight, because we are getting to the point where we're going like this. We're going like this as consciousness, and it's rising. But at one point, just like artificial intelligence, we are going to pass the event horizon of what we know, and we're going to go straight up. And that day is coming.
Yeah, so it's similar to the what you just shared, is the 100 monkey effect. If you've heard of 100 monkey effect.
I have, but not know it too well, but yes.
what it says is when the first monkey discovered how to break a nut or break a certain fruit, it was a huge amount of energy and thinking and whatever it had to do. And then for the first 100 to do it, it took huge amount of centuries and centuries and centuries. But when the 100 did it, then the whole universe or whole earth monkeys got it instantly.
Yes. That
It
that that's
you don't have to go linear. You go linear, it appears linear, and then suddenly it's a quantum jump. So
it's a,
what you are
yeah.
saying is very similar to that. And when you say that there is, what about the 8 billion people? And my last question I ask, what about the 8 billion people? Is going to happen to everyone, or is it going to happen to the people who are rising in their awareness? This is what I feel. I had stated this. I mean, this came to me a few years back that, and I shared with one or two people, and they laughed at me. Then I stopped sharing it at absolutely. But I
Yeah,
have
I
funny
I've
part.
been there before.
Yeah, the funny part is I document everything. I mean, that's my little forte advantage that anything I share, it's documented black and white in this computer and it's there. So even, tomorrow anyone can access those. So this came to me that, this is available not to everyone. This you can add on or minus or whatever, but it is available to the people who are looking inwards and growing in their own awareness. This will be available for them. Then what about the rest? I didn't know what, but this freeness from pain, suffering, this anyone who's truthfully looking inwards and just looking inwards and going within and taking total responsibility, he, she will get access to this beautiful this thing. Anything you have to say on that? This came to me a few years back, but I've kept it. This is the first time I'm sharing it on a platform.
Wow. Well, I'll tell you what. Do I have things to say about that? I feel like we might go 2-3 hours with this conversation alone. There is a thing, and before I get to that specific answer to your specific question, there is a thing called the law of entanglement. And this is about the 100 monkey scenario. Okay, that is that whatever you do is affecting me and is affecting everybody else. We all gain from your experience. Okay, and so if you're able to crack that nut, like you were saying, then I will be able to crack that nut much easier. And so I feel that we as a humanity already have reached that level of cracking that big consciousness nut, and it happened earlier this year. So that's why I tell people that 2024 is going to be a very, very interesting, exciting time of awareness, because 2025 is going to really start to manifestly show what we are starting to actually, as a collective, start to believe and think about this reality. And it's all about the law of entanglement. Once it gets cracked in one reality, it gets cracked in all realities, or it becomes easier to crack them. And so this is a very common term in science because it talks about the splitting of two particles. But what I'm talking about is two spiritual or multiple spiritual particles that are experiencing the same reality in slightly different ways. That what you do will affect me. And so this will make this linear thing go straight up. Okay. So as far as what was your question? I forgot it already. Sorry. Oh, the 8 billion people. The 8 billion people. Okay, I got it now. Woo. I'm telling you, there's just so much stuff here. We could like spend hours and hours, days and days, weeks and weeks. It's a beautiful, beautiful montage of different perspectives. I do have to tell you this, and I swear I won't forget the question, okay? I have to tell you that I really encourage people to look at this from many different perspectives, but don't just look at it from one. Okay, look at this as an opportunity, like a beautiful painting where you're using different colors, like an abstract painting or something, which I was never a big fan of, but now I am. Look at it for that because there is a story. Part of the story is in the way we see it through our spiritual belief systems. part of the story is allowing ourselves to see the truth as it's coming and playing itself out in the form of intelligence, like with artificial intelligence and virtual reality stuff. You know, there's quantum physics and epigenetics and all different things that are showing us pieces of the puzzle. And if
Right.
you put those pieces together, as weird, as crazy as it looks, you look back and you go, whoa, I see the whole thing. I can see the whole thing now. So I encourage people to look at this whole story of the truth from many, many different perspectives, not just in the spiritual sense. Now, back to your question, which I already forgot again.
No, I will tell you. My question was 8 billion people. Is this
Yes.
is this available to all 8 billion? I say no, it's available to people who look within and who are growing in awareness. It's this magical world will be available to them. Then what about the other people? Well. That was
Well,
that.
well, 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 well. Okay. Okay. So as far as I can tell from what you just said, you are 100% correct.
Mhm.
Okay. And I'll explain it in the way that I was shown. Okay. Um, there are a sizable number of people in this reality that if you look at this from a perspective of what we call gaming, virtual reality gaming, okay, there's a sizable number of people here that are here playing these roles, right? You said at the beginning that these we were all actors, okay? And in movies, we have the primary, you know, the lead actor, the supporting actors, and then we have the extras, okay? And in this reality, a lot of these people, I mean a lot of them, okay, are just what we call NPCs, non-performing characters. In the gaming world, those are the characters that just kind of fill the roles of your game so that you can really feel like you're actually in a reality where there's a lot of people. Those beings have consciousness. Now, many psychics, many people who can read energy can't see their energy because it's outside of the light spectrum, okay? Outside of the spectrum that we can see, even not just with our eyes, but with our spiritual connectedness, okay? But these have consciousness. These beings come here to play a role in your life, nobody else's life,
Mhm.
so that you can experience the totality of your game. When this game is over, they will evolve, continue to evolve, so that one day they will be the primary, they'll be the lead actor. But in this world, they are not here to ascend. They are here to help you awaken and ascend into higher consciousness. They are only here, as I would say, to just wake up, to be part of the play of waking up, but they're not here to ascend.
Beautifully explained. Beautifully explained. So I'll take questions from others now. And Sarika, since you have invited me, thank you once again. But you can start with your own question and directly ask. But Franco, my uh, suggestion is make the answer short because it can go for 2 3 hours. Because we'll take many questions and many short answers, as many as you
It-
have the time. But that's all.
that is so. Well, I laugh only because these are like big questions, and it's like
Yeah,
it's very
precise.
yeah. To be succinct is really really hard, but I'll do my best. Okay.
Yeah.
Yes, Sarika.
Franco, it was so nice to, I have a friend of mine, I'll quickly say he's called Parthasarthi, and he has spoken very elaborately on NPCs, the parallel realities, and the hologram and simulation. So, anyway, so my question, as I told you, I just recently lost my mom. And
Mhm.
there was like a second thing because I lost my dad also. And I saw him, I was like a palliative care assistant to him for like almost 6 months. So I saw death very closely and I was very young then. And this
Mhm.
time it was like a repeat. So it was like I was revisiting the trauma that I had experienced 20 years ago. So again, I got back to the question that why, despite knowing intellectually that we are not the body, we are beyond it, why death is such a difficult reality experientially to a lot of people I see, I have met.
Yes,
And I mean, in
Oh,
your
go ahead.
experience, have you like seen people altering their perception
Oh
in
yeah.
some way through the teachings and through the work they do?
Yes, yes, yes. Oh boy. Okay, Sarika, this is not going to be okay. I'm going to try. Okay, here we go. All right. we play a game that is involved in contrast or duality. Okay, we didn't talk much about this today, but
Right.
the game is contrast and duality. So as I always tell people, you have to contrast and duality is most of the time interpreted as up, down, left, right, man, woman, sky, ground, that kind of thing. But contrast can also be in the way that we have been conditioned to believe what we are, what we perceive of our reality, what we perceive of outside our reality. So we have always been relatively limited, in many cases, extraordinarily limited to understand who we are, what this game is, that there is no
Yeah.
death after life. I told you separately that when your mother passed away, you were there to greet her. And I was like, oh, I knew that's going to be maybe something she's not going to understand. But
Mm.
if we understand the game, we understand that the big aspect of our essence is always back in another space, okay, in the greater space of nothingness. And
Yeah.
you were asking me, not you, but the question was, what's the sixth dimension? The sixth dimension is what we call, at least in the Western world, heaven, okay, nirvana, those kind of things, is a state of
Yeah.
consciousness where we no longer are the body, okay? When we are no longer the body, we are light. That part of our light, the majority of our light is in that space. Not all of it, but the majority, which is why you are there meeting your mother when she passes through already. But we don't
Okay.
have an awareness of this. Because we don't have an awareness of this, we're limited in what we believe happens after we die. Even if our faith tells us differently, even if what we believe intellectually tells us differently, we haven't made the connection yet that we are spiritual beings playing a very, very tiny little game that happens like that in a blink of an eye. And so for us, it feels like forever. But the game allows you to experience this. You called it the trauma, and I understand that. But it's not trauma. It's the opportunity it's the perfect opportunity for you to see your truth in their deaths. And
Yeah.
when you know how to raise your consciousness, Sarika, you will be able to communicate with them all the time.
Yeah.
The veil will break. The
Yeah.
veil will break.
Yeah.
Okay.
A few years back, Franco, I mean, our master, he passed, he went on to the other world 10 years back. And surprisingly, I have never missed his presence or this thing because I've always been connected and of last 5 years documenting his conversation with me. Like you said, the higher self for me, the higher self roots through him, and I communicate to him almost every morning, every second, third morning. I have my notes and I just then people say, "What are you? You are just talking to yourself and you are just saying." So I don't. Earlier, I would feel constricted, or I would feel people would judge me. Now I'm just opening out because the more I'm opening out, the more it's coming. The more it's coming, the more I open out, and it's a
Yeah.
beautiful, positive virus, which you could call, and it's so
Absolutely.
because then how do I believe whether it is so? Because so many of the things, when like you said, you just see and it happens, like the COVID you shared. So many things you have seen it 6 months earlier or even few years now. You said from next 7 years, 10 years, this
Yeah.
will happen. That's where the belief comes. And then one statement always comes to me, what our master said, that yes, belief comes, belief helps us to go to the next level, but finally we need to drop the belief itself. So he says that, can you live without any concepts? Quote Guruji. So can you live without any concept? And that rings in my head all the time, that I tell people, use belief system, finally drop the belief system itself, because there's nothing which is true or in true. There's nothing good, bad, right, wrong, death, and this thing. I mean, all these, the moment we took birth in this body means duality started. The
Yeah.
game is of contrast, the game is of dualities. And can you stay and just watch the dualities and laugh, smile, and joke? That's it. That's
I will just tell you, Sarika, and this is also very important for everybody, is that in the duality game, whatever you have been taught to believe, okay, like you were just saying, whatever you've been taught to believe, look at the truth in terms of what it might be the opposite of, okay? So in other words, I always show my students, Look at what you have been shown of your reality, about yourself, about life, about death, and see the truth in the opposite of it, because that is also duality. It's a duality that we don't normally pay attention to. As far as for you, the greatest gift that your parents gave you was this ability to experience this, yes, in a traumatic way, but now it's your time to be born into yourself again. And I promise you this, and it's a big promise, in the next 3 to 4 or 5 years, tops, that veil between the fourth dimension, fifth dimension, and sixth dimension will break. And when it does, you will have the experience of not just feeling your parents, you will actually be able to be with them without having to physically die. So this is what's coming.
Beautiful.
Thank you, Franco. Beautiful
You're welcome.
answer. Thank you so
Thank you.
much.
Take care. Thank you.
Yes, Rina.
I'm so lucky, Manoj ji, that you have met me. You met me because I was looking at exact image for you, and I was trying to find you. Where are you? And literally, I'm saying you since last 2 years, I've been trying to find, and I had an image, Manoj ji, of you, and you came in my life. I'm seeing you, and this is real life. I'm so amazing. The question I have, the question I have now, and I'm so glad that you are here, and we can connect. I'm also in US right now. Since I have a 22 years of profession in IT, I born in a family where my dad is a doctor. I raised in the hospital. I see patients getting cured. I see a godness in him. I see him getting prayed by other people. He's a still personality. When I'm working here during especially COVID time, what happened is no matter how much credibility I was having, how much flame I was getting, I wasn't satisfied inside. Every morning I was sitting and some voice is coming in my head and saying, what you have been born for, you are not doing it. And it's clearly saying that to me, but I have no idea what I need to do. And so I literally resigned and I told that I need to help people. I cannot be here. And I started taking medical related courses, which I can get into medicine and I can start helping people. But at the same time, AI, ML is keep coming on to me. And even I go to the doctor's place, they say, you're in a wrong field. You need to go back to AI, ML. That's the future. And now you brought that again. So I'm so confused at this point where I should go, where I can make a difference, where I'm born for. I can get a clear path on it. How do I do that?
Would you like me to respond, or who would you like to respond? Because that's
You, Franco.
okay.
Happy
Okay. Well, I feel that the primary thing for you to do right now, and this is what I tell people, and by the way, what you're doing, very, very admirable, and very much what a lot of people are starting to do. They did this over the last 3 or 4 years. It was in here, I don't know if it was in other parts of the world, but it was called the Great Resignation. Okay, where people were leaving their careers to find themselves again, and to find what was making them happy. So this is my answer to you. You if you follow these very simple principles that either I've been talking about or what you have been exposed to already, of seeing your world inwardly, okay, in a very godly like way, okay, and playing with the simulation that is where the AI meets IT and virtual reality stuff, okay, you will find your purpose. And the biggest purpose that you will find is that you came here to awaken your consciousness to your greatness. Because as I said before, I know that seems abstract, but if you do that, magic begins. Magic begins. It is extraordinary. And what you will find is that you will have your choice. There is not one path for you. Any path you choose will become your path that you have chosen to do something with, and to further enhance humanity. Because again, I cannot stress enough, for you right now, the real calling is to go inside and fully wake up to your godliness. And when you do that, one day you will be sitting and talking to people about the same thing, and waking them up. And you cannot have a greater gift than that, than to do that. But as far as a 3D perspective, your path will be clear. You have beautiful, beautiful intellect about AI and about medicine. I have students who have combined those two into something beautiful in healing practices that are cutting edge, that nobody knows how to do yet. and they're teaching their teachers in school how to do it. So allow yourself the grace to go inside first and become aware of yourself as deity, as God.
Thank you
Beautiful.
so much, Franco. And thank you so much, Manoj ji. Thank you so much.
Wonderful. Yes, Karthik, you can ask.
Yes. So, Franco, my question is that I was going through a website and I was going through your venture called as New My Nourish. My
Yes.
Nourish. Yes. So my question is to you is how has your spiritual journey influenced your professional pursuits? So it is in very in link with what the previous question was, what Krina asked, that you realize that you have this spiritual calling, and then you are a clairvoyant, and then suddenly you realize that okay, there is something beyond this to also offer, and get into a professional line, like starting a health company. So how did you manage that journey?
That's that's a really good question. How do I manage the journey? Sometimes I wake up every morning wondering that same question myself. Um, I actually started the nutrition company before I had my very significant first awakening back in 2010. So the company started in 2008 because I had this feeling that we really don't. My background is in healthcare, and I have worked with many big companies and hospitals here. But I felt that the way the Western world was treating the body and the energy and understanding how energy flows and how important it is to be mindful of that wasn't being treated here properly. So I created the nutrition company to give people this nutrition that was much more aligned with the energetic frequencies of the body. And so it kind of happened that 2 years later I had this massive awakening. And so funny thing now is that I look at the nutrition as a very temporary solution to what will ultimately be a self-healing process that we will go through. I tell people this very upfront. I say that right now the body needs this type of nutrition that I've created to help people to sort of begin the process of cleaning this beautiful temple of theirs and getting clarity of their energetic streams, their chakras and whatnot. But one day it won't be needed. My own company won't be needed, and that one day will be in the next 6 or 7 years. I just know that the body will be able to self-regulate itself to that point. But in the
Wow.
meantime, I'm still offering this. I call this a surrogate. We're using something else because we are godly. We use something else to actually give it the power to heal us. Some people like Bruce Lipton or Joe Dispenza would call that the placebo effect. Okay, but that's because we give the power to something else to heal us. And so I've been very open about the fact that in the next 6, 7, 8 years, we won't need that anymore.
Beautiful. Yeah. Yeah,
Did
that,
I
One
that
add
did I help? Did I answer your question?
Yes, just one add-on question to this small one is there are many people in the group, like students who are, who have a spiritual calling and also want to start their career, right? There are entrepreneurs, there are professionals who have a spiritual calling somewhere deep down inside, and then they want to kind of figure out. So how do they discover that no what to do, and how to balance this? What's your framework? I mean, how did you put this inside, and how do you kind of give it outside?
The amazing thing about people, the younger generation, and I talk a lot about this in the book, they came into this world with a different wiring system than the older generation. It's not that the older generation can't get this wiring, but it's so much more natural to them. I would say that if they can look, and I'm going to say this in a way that hopefully it resonates with them. If they seek the answers within themselves to see what is needed in the world that's coming, it won't be the traditional things that we have commonly referred to, even in the way that we see IT. For instance, if anybody's in the field of IT or going into the field of IT, I would most definitely tell them, get into the world of artificial intelligence and understand it as a way in which to express ourselves as consciousness. If you can do that, you will break big barriers very quickly. You will be the hottest thing in IT. You will be the hottest thing in AI. Okay, there is a whole world of crypto and Web3 and all of these things. These are the worlds that are coming in terms of connecting these virtual realities together. So there are ways to connect these things, but if all you do is look at it from the surface level of what is viewed as important right now, then you are missing the opportunity to lead the discussion and show people how this incredible technology can be an extension of our consciousness. And when you do that, these walls will come breaking down quickly. The worlds of finance. If we look at the world of finance and we see that these institutions are breaking down because they're breaking down, they no longer support the energies of 5D. We will not need currency eventually, not even cryptocurrency, to be able to have self-sustaining lives. But as long as you can understand how to impact financing right now through other means of financial exchange, like with crypto. I'm not even a crypto person, okay? But I'm just telling you that this is what you should do. You look beyond to see what consciousness is doing in the form of this reality, and you will find that. The arts are going to be very big. The writers, the musicians, the storytellers, those people, that language, that technology is going to be huge in the next 5-10 years, because this language needs to be repeated over and over again. But you have to go inward. I cannot stress, and be willing to ask the question, who am I? Who really am I? And then
And
you will find the answer. I
and,
hope that helps.
and Karthik,
Yes.
will
Thank you so much.
I will just say one simple thing. We are one of the whole, and the whole is me, and I am the whole. It's like this. So if we live that principle that we are everything, that means we share everything. That's the
Yes.
okay. If you're willing to share all your money, you're already there. Because who will share all your money? Because the one who feels everyone is yours, if we share it. So if you feel exclusive, if you feel separate, if we feel separate, then we are already separate. But if we feel one, then what is mine is yours. In fact, I told Franco that how many of you are willing to invite Franco? He's planning to come in August. How many of you willing to invite Franco to your house? And please don't write me, just write the city, because he's planning his trip and he will come. Okay, so write me and the place where you want. So Franco, you have the whole now. Mumbai is full, of course, but where else?
Yeah. It's that I tend,
Kolhapur, Bangalore, Chennai, let's see, Hyderabad, Toronto. Someone says Toronto, and
I'm never gonna leave India. I'm just never gonna leave India. So
Hubli, New Delhi, Pune. Okay, you got
wow.
Francisco, Vizag. Yes.
Wow.
So you have the whole India. Okay, you can choose Jodhpur, Malkapur. Okay, and so you have to find this in the map of India where these places are. Okay, and I'll ask Sarika to send you this list, or Vijay make this list,
Thank you.
and per whole. So you
That's
can
beautiful. Thank you.
definitely come to our abodes where our master has given us. We have in Bangalore, Vizag, Pune, Mumbai. These places do visit because there's a different energy there, and you will feel. I stay in the hills, so we have about 180 people staying together with 90 children that way.
Oh my
That-
gosh.
yeah,
Wow. All right. All right.
that's
I'm
my
so
daughter.
honored. Thank you.
That's my daughter Vedosi. She'd like to ask one question. Yeah, she's in the Gurukul right now. I am in Mumbai and she is in Pune somewhere.
Hi,
Hi.
hi Franco. Hi.
Hi.
So my question is that I'm a musician and I wanted to
Oh,
know how I can access and channel more music and how
mm,
I can actually get guidance and communicate with the other side for my own purpose of my life, guidance step by step, because many a times I also go into the zone of like, you know, being confused on what I should go do next in terms of steps to achieve my purpose. And yeah, that's my thoughts.
I don't know if you noticed, but when you said that, I just immediately went, "Oh, you are
Yeah.
in you are in such a beautiful space right now." And I mean that. I've been very fortunate. Some of my students that I have, two of them specifically are very well known musicians in either the region or in their genre or maybe even in the world. And they were actually at a point where they were very unsure of what they wanted to do with their music anymore. And so one of them in particular had won, I believe is it Grammys, when the award that they get for their excellence in music, and
Yeah.
and they felt empty,
Mm.
and they didn't know what to do next. And so what happened with them is exactly what we've been talking about here. And it sounds very generic, but it really is extraordinarily powerful. The thing that you can do to tap into your beauty and the words that you will use. And by the way, both of them are now on tour, and their music is just like really impacting people everywhere around the
What are
world.
the names?
I can't share that, unfortunately,
Oh,
because it's
okay.
it's 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 private for them.
All right.
And so, but they're doing wonderful things with the way that they now see themselves. They
Mhm.
have given themselves the grace to go inside and be playful, okay? To be playful and use your imagination. And as we were talking about this today, I was going to say this morning because it's the morning here in the States, okay? Is that I really encourage you not to be afraid to use your imagination to have conversations with yourself. Now, I actually have a little exercise that everybody can do, and I'm going to share it with you, okay? I tell people that one of the funnest ways to start opening up your imagination, because it's your imagination that's going to spur your creativity, which will be beautiful music for you, okay? Is that you start a dialogue with three types of characters, okay?
Mhm.
One of them is to create an imaginary friend, okay? An imaginary best friend, and have this creation and dialogue with them, okay? Like every day, do it and have fun with it, okay?
Right.
And then the second one is to imagine having a dialogue or conversation with the baby you, the child you, the 5-year-old you, and just kind of explore that experience and have that intimate conversation and experience together, okay? And the third one that you would have an imagination conversation is with an animal, with some sort of creature, something that provides you security and comfort, okay? And the reason
Mhm.
I ask you to do this is because in having that conversation, you're actually having conversations with different parts of your higher being, the divinity, the godliness in you. And what you will find is that eventually you will fall in love with all three of those characters. And when you fall in love with all three of those characters and can't live without them, you are actually telling yourself that you have fallen in love with yourself. And when you can fall in love with yourself, the creative juices that will happen from that spark of energy is incredible. It's incredible. The stories and the music and the experiences that you will write about in your music will be insane because you will have found a way to fall in love with yourself again. And that is something that is
Mm.
missing in this world right now, is the
Wow.
ability to do that. Does that make sense to you?
Yeah, that's a beautiful tip. I will definitely explore it.
If you do this, your
Yeah.
consciousness will explode, and your heart, where all of this higher consciousness comes from, will explode as well. Okay?
Mm. So, like,
So
I could get guidance through these.
You can get guidance through them.
Games.
You can get guidance
Mm.
through them. They will become
Mm.
they will become your guides. I have had many
Mm.
students who have used them to do things, to write music, to see things,
Oh.
to envision things that have not happened yet
Mm.
through them,
Mhm.
through them.
Mm.
And eventually they will become part of your collective that will be speaking to you all the time.
Hmm.
Uh,
And all
Because
you did was use your imagination.
like somewhere inside, I know that like what I want to do, but in the process, I kind of get lost on what's the next step. So yeah, I think this will help.
Yeah,
I will
don't.
explore it.
The next step is to explore your inner world. Get deep
Hmm.
in it. Get deep in it. Okay?
Hmm.
That's your biggest next step. Don't get too distracted with the outer world. If
Hmm.
you can play in your inner world and become the master of your game, then you will have control of the outer world. I promise you that this is what these two recording artists did, and it changed. One of them had stopped touring for years, and now she's back on tour. Okay?
Hmm. Wow, that's beautiful. Thank you.
All right.
I'm very excited for you.
Thank you.
So any information you would like to give about the book, which they can purchase online?
Yeah, I'll just tell you real quickly, the easiest way to get the book is either to go on my website, which is theclosetspiritualist.com, theclosetspiritualist.com, or they can go on to like Amazon or one of the big bookstores and they can get it there. But it's theclosetspiritualist.com,
So
or go to my or go to one of the bookstores. That would be the easiest way.
the book's name is Closet Spiritualist, right?
Yes, it's a metaphor for coming out of the closet to your spirituality.
Okay, so my question is like based on my experience in 2022, what I experienced is like beautiful light or a stillness. There was nothing, no body, no intellect, no mind. It was so comfortable to be there, and I did not
Mm,
want to come back. So
mm.
whenever I go there, I feel this is my purpose and this is the who I am. I feel so comfortable there. So on that basis, I have questioned that in the depth of consciousness, how does one uncover their unique purpose in life, and how can they align their actions with this purpose to live life like fulfilling existence?
Mm. Well, I got to tell you, I was like, The reason I was feeling that way was because what you described is what I call the pureness of the oneness. Okay, where you went or where you go is the ultimate state of consciousness, where we're all just one before anything ever was. Yet it's a place where there is no thought, but just absolute bliss. Okay. So for you to go that far is amazing and congratulations, okay? Because it's not that other people cannot do that. It's just that we don't remember that we can do it all the time. It's like we were talking about earlier, that we're always in the stillness. Just like we are in the stillness, we are always in that state of consciousness, that deep, deep, deep state of consciousness before thought. Okay. But in this world, we use thought. In this world, we use thought as an expression of consciousness. Okay. So that's why we use thought, which is not a bad thing. It happens that with thought, we create manifestation because of that. It expresses consciousness in a manifested way. To your question, okay. It's so easy for me to say, well, at this point, do this, do this, do this on the outside world. Okay. But we're not being asked to do that right now. We do have to survive, right? We do have to feel like we're doing something in 3D, okay? But the most important thing that you can do is take that experience of being in the deepest realms of the oneness and remember that you are in that space all the time, and bring that energy of bliss back into this reality, and bring it back into this reality so that you can constantly, and I'm going to use it again, imagine the world that you desire to live in, experience. Okay. I mean, Gandhi once said, you have to be the change that you want to see in the world. And I used to sit there and go, what does this mean? How is it possible that I could do this? I could change everything. You can, but I cannot stress enough that you have to go inward and remember who you are as not just being a visitor in the oneness. You are oneness. You are part of the oneness. You are part of a very extraordinary power that can create realities. If I had to give you the gift, I would do the same thing that I did with the other person. Imagine these various playful conversations. Imagine what you desire, not as who you are as a person, not as you as a body, but desire it as you, as deity, as godliness. What do you desire? Because the game will give it to you, but you have to believe, you have to go beyond belief to faith. You have to go into the deepest levels of faith that you know yourself to be that. And if you can't do that, that's all right. Just imagine it. Just imagine it. Use your
Beautiful.
imagination. Okay.
Beautiful, beautiful.
Wonderful.
Does that
Thank you so much.